Hello everyone, today we are going to show a little bit what Bayer is doing with AI. Maybe for everyone who doesn't know who Bayer is. Bayer is a life science company and we are a global leader in healthcare and nutrition. Our innovative products support the efforts to overcome the challenges presented by an aging and growing population. And our mission is health for all, hunger for none. We drive this mission with our 3 business units, pharmaceutical, consumer health, as well as crop science, to create this mission for our customers, farmers, and patients. So maybe let's look into the topic of AI. In general, I think today we are going to focus about generative AI, and I'm going to show you a little the journey of Gen AI. It started 2 years ago, and one of our goals was really to democratize Gen AI for everyone. So democratize Gen AI across all roughly 100,000 employees all across the globe of Bayer. In addition, we wanted to accelerate the adoption to really create value with this technology and to move from use case to really go into the whole value chain of creation, what we're doing at Bayer. And last but not least, the time is now. So with AI untapping the potential of unstructured data, we need to prepare now to be ready for the future and create our mission. So when we are looking at the timeline, what we have been through over the last years, in November 2022, ChatGPT was released. And I think with the release of ChatGPT, this was not just something new for Bayer, but that was something new mainly for everyone. All the companies faced the challenges of how do we deal with that, what kind of changes will come with it, how do I prepare for the new opportunities, and what kinds of opportunities are arising for our business. So for us, Gen AI is changing the way we work, and it creates opportunities all across the company. It makes AI more visible in our daily work and even to those beyond the realm of data science. So it's really about people, not just in IT, but all across the company. Let it be legal, communication, marketing, product supply, research. We are really talking about everyone at Bayer. In March 2023, we released our MyGenesys. This is our, we can say, internal ChatGPT. So we do have the possibility to democratize Gen AI by rolling out MyGenesys all across Bayer. In July 2024, we reached the milestone of rolling out MyGenesys to over 40,000 employees, and by September 2024, MyGenesys was rolled out all across Bayer. So everyone has the possibility now to create their own assistants, to create their team assistants, but also to leverage the technology and test it out in accordance to the guidelines we have. And I think you can see that really, as mentioned, all across the value chain, but also in the IT departments or in the more innovative areas like the D-Hub in Warsaw, people are using this technology to really change their way of working. So maybe having a look at MyGenesys. MyGenesys is the Bayer Generative AI operating system, if you want to. It really enables internal innovation. Developed by multidisciplinary teams of Bayer experts, this tool was developed to serve all kinds of purposes what can be created with Gen AI. You don't only have a user interface where people can log in, ask questions, create those assistants, and we will talk about those assistants later, but it also gives developers the possibility to access this technology. What is the big value of that? Well, not only is it a tool which is secure and it is adapted in our own ecosystem, but it's also connecting to our own data. And by that, by leveraging the API, we enable and empower and catalyze a lot of different use case teams at Bayer to leverage the technology and ingest generative AI into their products, into their use cases, and into their projects. So maybe looking a little bit into what MyGenesys can do. It has for sure access to the latest proprietary and open source large language models. So it's not only the ChatGPT, GPT models, but we have a whole selection of large language models, so we can leverage the right language model for the right use case. We have a prompt library and a prompting guide, so people understand how to prompt correctly, because I think besides a good technology basis, and we will come back to that later as well, it's really about people learning how to leverage and create value with new technology. Then, as mentioned, the integration with data sources, and we are talking about internal and external data sources. So let it be users are able to upload documents, connecting to SharePoint and OneDrive. We are also able to web search and web scrape. Scientific literacy, regulatory documents, commercial databases, and clinical trials are only some of the data we are able to integrate with myGeneSys and leverage there based on your access rights within the company. What we also have are AI agents connected to the right data and tools. So based on what you're able to see in the company, you're able to create your own AI agent to support you in your daily work. And this can be an agent only shared to you. This can be an agent shared to your team, or we also have agents which are shared all across the company to really serve a purpose for everyone within Bayer. The creation of those assistants, or mini apps as we call it, is really customizable to your business use case and, as mentioned, shareable across the whole company. In addition, we support audio, images, videos, and other input and output files, so you are really flexible and you can leverage the right files for your use case. That being said, let's look at the achievement side. As I mentioned, democratization across the company is one of the goals, and at Bayer, that's something we completed by rolling it out to everyone at Bayer. We are also looking at productivity gains of 10 to 20% reported by 80% of survey respondents who are using myGeneSys within Bayer. This is more than 5 weeks saved. This was reported by 33% of the survey respondents. By now we have over 4,000 of this called mini apps which were created, over 700 shared internally, and we have 300,000 conversations per week. We have the API integration, as I mentioned, into dozens of systems. And in the end, this is more cost effective because it comes at a fraction of the price of vendor solutions. We have the community reach, so over 12,000 active participants are working in a Gen AI community and exchanging on how they are using myGeneSys. And this can look like that someone from R&D is explaining how he or she is using the technology in their daily work, and someone from finance is listening to that, and we see how they are abstracting the capability from the actual content work and exchanging on how they are solving the problem, because in the end, they are solving very similar problems in very different areas. So our community is really one of the achievements we have as well, as mentioned, as we need to reach the people to increase adoption and make this technology more tangible to everyone at Bayer. So when we are looking into the myGeneSys assistants that we have enabled an agile creation of Gen AI mini apps customized to business and use case specific needs. That said, I already said we have over 4,000 assistants which have been created, and you can see here in the image just an example how those mini apps look like. And we have a lot of different use cases, right? It can be a research buddy, a regulatory specialist, a negotiation buddy, a scouting assistant. So there are a lot of different assistants which are not only useful to one person, but to multiple ones. And maybe adding to that, why it is so useful to share those assistants. If you create an assistant, let's say, for your project you're working in, and it is a multidisciplinary global project where you work across different time zones and so on, you can create an assistant which has access to all of the relevant data and ask questions, and the framework of this agent will always be the same regardless to who is using that. And everyone can, by that, maybe also understand language, as the assistant can translate more specific language from some areas of the company to someone who's maybe farther away from this area-specific language. So it really also tears down borders and also opens up those knowledge gaps, which you might see sometimes when interdisciplinary teams work together. Now, when we started this whole journey of Gen AI 2 years ago, we asked the question, what do we need to do to achieve where we are today? And we were thinking about 4 main pillars. Those 4 main pillars are technology, value creation, partners, and humans. We were thinking about whether everything needs to run in parallel or whether we can prioritize one or the other. But in the end, we said a technology without someone who knows who can use it doesn't create any value. If you're creating use cases which don't have value, you're not creating value. And in the end, Bayer at its core, it's not an IT company, so we need the right partners to collaborate and make it happen and be as fast as possible to achieve our goal. So let's deep dive in all of those 4 different key elements. And we will start with the technology part. So when looking into the technology aspects, 2 years ago, we said there are not a lot of blueprints available, at least as mentioned. 2 years ago, Gen AI was released, it was new to a lot of people, and we were discussing also with other companies. In the end, we said, and this is, I think, still the case, there is no one-fits-all solution. So as an example, although having MyGenesys, which can be leveraged for a lot of things, we are using also GitHub Copilot for our developers. It's a tool which is perfectly designed to be integrated into their development environment. They can leverage it for their code. All the functionalities come with it. So for us, it's really one capability we can buy off the shelf. There are a lot of other areas where you cannot buy any solutions off the shelf because either it's about our data, it's about secret data, or it's about really the capability of the tool which is not available. We also said we need to translate challenges into solutions. We don't want to create a great tool which isn't solving any challenges, but we want to create a tool which is really a solution for a lot of different challenges. So we said that MyGenesys is one of the core capabilities which will serve a lot of different use cases, and a lot of different use cases can benefit by starting off an already great baseline. And in the end, data still makes the difference. We will come back to that later again. So connecting generative AI systems to your data is the difference between a normal ChatGPT search and really something more valuable because it's really getting the context of your business. The value part is something we are also looking a little bit deeper later on, which a lot of companies are discussing. Are we looking at single use cases? Are we experimenting with something? In the end, the question is, what is also your vision of your company? Do you want to be an AI-driven company? Do you only want to do single use cases? For us, in the end, the AI-driven company or democratization of generative AI was really one of the goals we had. Me, I'm part of a global team. I cannot say how people in regulatory science would use generative AI the best. They know how to use it the best, and they also know how to redesign their processes accordingly. Besides that, for sure, we do have bigger use cases where we also measure KPIs. Those bigger use cases can be combining agricultural data with weather data, product data, research data, and so on to give our sales people at their fingertips all information they need to really serve the farmer in a better way and take data-driven decisions. It could also be a patient-friendly app which is looking at rare diseases and how you treat them rightly, which could support, as an example, healthcare professionals. Those are different value drivers when you look at those single use cases versus really looking at the end-to-end processes where we redesign whole processes to make them leverage Gen AI capabilities at its core Because if you would start from a greenfield project, maybe you can ask yourself the question whether you would design the process still in the same way as you designed it maybe 10 years ago. Last but not least, one thing we always like to remind you of, Gen AI technology is something where sustainability should be in our heads as well. Gen AI can do a lot of things, but there needs to come the value with it. Plus, there are also other technologies which will bring us back to the technology part where we said there is no one-fits-all solution. It might be an off-the-shelf solution. It might be also a smaller model than one of the large language models, or it might even be a decision tree or a very structured approach instead of leveraging a large language model. So now we are looking into the partner side. We, especially in the beginning, saw a lot of mushrooming of partners or a lot of mushrooming of startups, which were coming up in the Gen AI space. Some of them were only a wrapper around GPT, which still causes a lot of additional effort looking at all of those mushrooming startups. So we said we need to have strategic partners to really leverage the knowledge of our partners and go the way along with them. Because as mentioned, Bayer at its core is not an IT company, but we are collaborating strategically with the right partners to go or to achieve the goal we want to achieve. With those peers, we learn from each other and also from other peers. So it's not just partners within consultancies, but it's also partners with universities, our university ecosystem, but also partners from other industries, other corporates, where we exchange and learn together to come closer to our mission, health for all and hunger for none. And last but not least is the human part. I think the human part is something a lot of people underrate or underestimate. There is no value creation if you're having a technology, but you don't have the adoption and the people are not leveraging the technology in a good way. So therefore, we said that competencies are really something which we need to put into focus from the beginning. Last year already, we launched Gen AI Learning Path. We launched Sherlock events, which can be solved with Gen AI. So we really focused also on low entry barrier trainings for people to understand how Gen AI can be leveraged, how prompting is working. We, as an example, also have a prompting learning journey you can do with your team. So it's really about also this peer learning, understanding how others are using that for you to maybe lose the fear or the hesitance to work with this technology, but also to understand what value creation steps others take and to adopt those. We support this whole effort by creating a community. So we do have a Teams community with over 13,000 people, and those people exchange with each other, they share their learnings, they share their experience. And one thing, just as an example, what was also started out of the community is Gen AI meetups. So people meet physically at different locations all across the globe to understand how people leverage this, how they create value, and how you can adopt it in your own life. And this is one also of the key pillars we democratize Gen AI. In addition, what we have seen, and this is something we also established right at the beginning, is framework and guardrails and guidelines. So people have clear rules where they can leverage which tool and where not. And this is not seen as something where we try to stop people from using the technology. Not at all. This is just giving clear guardrails and the freedom to test the technology within those guardrails, so people have the safety to really test their use cases based on those guidelines and rules. To make it maybe a little bit more tangible, we can look into different use cases. What myGenAssist is be used with the user interface, the API, but also the so-called RAG, so the integration of data. And this is really instrumental to accelerate the integration of Gen AI across the whole value chain. We do have some examples from 4 buckets, from R&D, commercial, product supply, and medical and pharmacovigilance. So maybe starting with R&D, just as an example, support creation of clinical study reports is something where generative AI can have a tremendous value. Screening documents, creating first drafts of documents, linking between documents, finding the right information is something Gen AI is great at. And having a first draft is sometimes so value creating, and it's accelerating the whole process so much that this is already a great value case we can look into. Also the support, the authoring of clinical protocols. It's again about big text documents where people have to screen and create data in a specific format. So those examples can be, I would say, some easier example within the R&D area. When we are looking into the commercial area, we have marketing content creation using Gen AI. For just an example, newsletter, it could be other products as well. So this is where Gen AI can really boost, on the one side, creativity, but also on the other side, efficiency to create newsletter with the right content and the right voice to the right user group. Another example is market survey analysis. Things which Gen AI can do very fast and give the experts just at the fingertips the right information based on the information they are uploading. When we look into the product supply area, we are looking at an example at smart incident management, enabling supply managers with responses and measures just at a fingertip, because the tool has access to the right documents and to the right data. And when we are looking into the medical space, it can be support of literature review or research generation of structured responses to medical questions. So those are just some examples where Gen AI can support you all across the value chain. And this maybe also explains what I said earlier, that I'm not an expert in any of those areas. The people working in those areas know the best how to leverage this technology in their area, and by that the democratization part of Gen AI is so important to really achieve the value creation with Gen AI by giving them the freedom to leverage it in their processes. Now, how to realize the value from, or the promised value from Gen AI? I think this is really one of the topics we discuss frequently also with other people, because there is a lot of buzzwords, there are a lot of different promises Gen AI is promising all across the value chain, but there are also those numbers that only 30% of the pilots go into production. So a lot of numbers kind of show that maybe not everything you're starting will be in production and will really create the value. So for us, we created an overview end-to-end, also together with some peers, what you need to take into consideration and what requires a dense integration of technology, people, and business processes to really achieve the goal of measuring and creating the value of Gen AI. And I think it starts still with the data management and quality part. So I heard a lot of examples where companies connect Gen AI to their tools and they suddenly see what kind of bad quality they have in their data, because it's so easy now to talk to the data and to get answers. So it's really the question how to connect your enterprise data and integrate it into your product. It's again a new technology, but the old problem of data quality remains. And the more technical part here is really the document parsing. How do you give the documents to the tool that people working with the tool will create the right answers? There, again, I think next steps after the agentic workflow, after the agentic setup, which we have seen previously, the next step might be multi-agent setups and agentic workflows, which will also solve some of those areas we are now talking about. The second step is access to knowledge. I think the document upload, the reg integration, and the API to simply search is something which is really important to make those documents accessible. Then we have the Gen AI models. And I think I already elaborated, we have more than one model, one large language model in our tool, but we have multiple ones, so you can choose the right one for your use case. And there it's really about how do you create those agents? What kind of GPTs are you using? PTUs, just to throw in some more buzzwords to achieve a good latency or no latency, I would say. And always get a good response, because there are use cases where it might not be a pain to wait maybe for the answer. But in other use cases, you want to have an immediate answer, especially when going into production. So also the GenAI model part, although it might sound easy, is something where you still need to test the right setup for your solution. Then we are coming into the enabling people part. And the fourth pillar is for us the responsible use. So it's data and IT security, legal and compliance, governance and guardrails. Something we have started looking into already when we started creating MyGenAssist and started the whole journey of GenAI. Because that being said, even if you don't have your own solution in the company, you need to have a guardrails and governance in place, because otherwise people might leverage your company data at external tools and you will be in the media for that. So that's also one thing which is really crucial, to give the people, as mentioned, this safe space for them, but also for your company to responsibly use these new technologies. The user experience part, also an enabling people part, is really about training employees. I mentioned it. We have a prompting learning journey. We have those Sherlock events. We have GenAI learning paths. So a lot of possibilities for people to connect. We have the community and support. We also have regular community calls where thousands of people are logging in to really understand how other people are leveraging GenAI. And we do that on a monthly basis. I'm personally always amazed by how curious everyone are, and that the participation rate is not going down. It's actually in the other direction. It's still going up and people are still hyped about the topic. And we want to understand users' intents and feedback. So this is also a crucial part to drive the user experience and to enable them to get answers as easy as possible. Then we are going to the business process part, and one of the last points is, in the end, the use cases, right? Something everyone is elaborating about. We have quick wins, we have clear KPIs, we have experiments and uncertainties, and we have something we call the golden use cases. So the use cases where we say those are very high valuable use cases and they drive our strategy for the different areas. So it's really creating value, tangible outputs for our customers, farmers, and patients in the end. And all of this will lead into measurable value. So align with your core company mission. What is the mission you really want to achieve, and which are you supporting with GenAI? Do you have quality metrics to measure those things? And beyond of that, do you have something beyond efficiency? Because in the end, this is not just an efficiency tool, although we were talking about efficiency KPIs. It's also a tool which can drive top line to really increase your value creation for your customers. Now, when we look into the more technical part, this is one example architecture for MyGenAssist. MyGenAssist, as you see on the upper left side, we have the user. So we have business users, which are just leveraging the UI. We have technical users, which are leveraging our API. And we have other systems and other user interfaces, which are also leveraging our APIs. We are serving all of those three user groups in parallel. So that's something we designed from the beginning, that this is kind of like going into a headless architecture type of thing, that people are enabled to develop their own solution on top of our existing MyGenAssist solution. Below that, and that's something we also covered in the streamlined process, are the MyGenAssist agents. So we have the load balancer, as mentioned, we have the large language model orchestration, we have guardrails, analytics, to be able to really make a responsible AI usage possible. Below that, we have the integration of data either via document upload, via web scrape, and the file management and parsing indexing of different kind of data within Bayer. We also have vector databases, a big topic for the future as well, because I think for all of those capabilities, we are not at the end of the maturity yet, right? We are just starting to really understand how architectures and setups can look like. And then we have the MyGenesis generator tool, which I mentioned. We have different input and output formats from image, PDF, code interpreter, so different ways of how data is being handled and outputted. So therefore, as you see, we also have a big tool interface for OpenAI plugin APIs, where you have knowledge integration, as mentioned, the RAG toolkit, because we really want to democratize not just the users via the UI, but also the development of use cases in the best case in a harmonized way. So therefore, also for our more technical user groups, we do have toolkits, knowledge bases, knowledge connectors, which can be repurposed based on their own use cases. I hope this gives you a rough overview on what you have to take into consideration when building your own solution, because you would also say that one solution doesn't fit all and you need your own solution in your company. Let's do a brief recap. If you would ask me, AI is not just a tool for the few. It's really a catalyzer that changes the accessibility for data. It's shaping the future where every voice contributes to innovation and really changes the way we are working and collaborating in the future. Driving adoption in use cases is really crucial, and not just on the technical side or on the partner side, but really on all four levels we discussed. So you need to take into consideration also the human, the adoption part, the value creation, your partners, and the technology to drive value creation. And for us, it really is transforming how we deliver value for our patients, farmers, and customers and drive progress. Last but not least, the time to transform is now, to support our mission Health for All and Hunger for None. So the journey started 2 years ago, but we really see the first effects in our value chain all across the company, where AI is transforming the way we are working. So before coming to the closing remarks, I would like to emphasize some ways of thinking about AI. Some people really believe that make your data source accessible and collect unstructured data is already the end. But for me, this is one baseline you need to do to really truly democratize FAI and how it is working to make data accessible and unlocking new data types. So your time to also collect those data is now. You should protect company IP and data, and don't underestimate its impact today. It becomes the core of tomorrow, what you're building today. And last but not least, what I already emphasized, build a community around AI. It will change the way your employees are working. It will change the way the people are adopting on the new technology, and it will accelerate your journey of GenAI. That being said, what if the key to really unlock your transformative value lies in our willingness to integrate AI as a fundamental element in our core business? In a lot of cases, I see it's really about also the mindset and the vision and the mission you want to drive for your company. As I said throughout the presentation, try to support that and ingest that in your core beliefs to really change the way we are working in the future and how we can make our missions reality for us, Health for All, Hunger for None. So if you're curious to learn more about Bayer, for sure, feel free to follow our Bayer company profiles, as an example, on LinkedIn or Instagram. But also, if you want to learn more about the emerging technologies, the technology and everything we are doing in the tech space, follow our DHub account, which really has great content on all of those. If you have additional questions, feel also free to connect to me and ask me via LinkedIn. I will reach out or reach back to you, and I'm looking forward to all the discussions ahead.